All right, we'd like to welcome everyone this evening to Mapleton City Council meeting on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. We'd like to recognize Casey Beck up here with us, new councilman, and we'll go get to that oath of office here in a minute. We'll begin with an invocation by Councilman Beck and led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Egbert.
Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we're very grateful to be gathered today to discuss matters important to Thee. We're grateful for this community that we live in, and we ask Thee for guidance as we discuss various topics. We're very grateful for the rain and for all the support and participation that we will be having tonight. And we love Thee very much. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll now move forward with the oath of the office and turn it over to Camille.
We're going to do you one at a time, so if you each just come down. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Utah, and the laws and ordinances of Mapleton City, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Utah, and the laws and ordinances of Mapleton City, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Utah, and the laws and ordinances of Mapleton City, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
All right, thanks, Camille. Told Casey to wear his work boots tonight. It's time to go to work. All right. We'll begin with the first four items of our agenda, which is the consent agenda. And we'll ask the council for any comments or a motion.
I've got a question on the fiber network. I'm curious about the competitor and that it seems like they maybe missed the mark on what we were asking anyway. So I'm wondering, do we actually have a competitor bid? I appreciate all the commentary about going through the ethics process and making sure that this was not creating conflict of interest. What was the other what was the other bid, and is it an appropriate competitive bid?
You talking dollar amount?
Yeah,
Uh,
both.
Both. So as far as dollar amount, what they did is they broke it up into hourly rate, but they never did come up with actually what that dollar amount would be. So that was a concern to us as well. I'd hit in that staff report some of the other topics that we felt made it clearer of the two different bids. And one of the things in regards to the one that was with the Bitstream Communications was the other bid that came through, but they felt like their bid focused more on providing that wireless network rather than focusing on what we were looking for that fiber type of
And that's
structure.
a pretty big
It's broad, yeah.
misunderstanding, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure I'd even consider that a competitor. That's that's my only concern on that one. I'm less concerned about ethics as far as I am, or as much as I'm concerned about at the bid for 110 do we actually have competitors according to our process in obtaining
Yeah.
bids? So that's,
I don't know if this is the time to ask as well, but it seems like with only 2 bids, that's not a very good participation in the RFP.
Yeah, it's them are fair comments, and it's difficult. It's interesting with a lot of times we'll have RFP and we'll get tons of bids that'll come in, and we're able to really get a feel for what you're hitting on, and other times we don't. I'm not an expert in these type of services. You know, I can kind of say what I see sometimes out there when we do these RFPs. Sometimes based on it, we're asking for a specific type of service here that maybe there's not a lot of companies out there that do that type of service or are interested in doing that, and that might have been the case. Yeah, I mean, I follow your points, other than us going out and trying to, solicit another RFP and trying to see if we can get more
How long-
come in.
how long
We-
was it out?
We went through 2 actually, and I could let our our director kind of mention on those RFPs as well. So.
Yeah, we went out to the state purchasing, and they solicited over 3,000 vendors. And also, we had it out on the city website as well. We got concerned that 2 weeks into it that we weren't getting any bids, and so we actually extended it another week. And like Corey said, it is specialized type of engineering for that. Really, that type of engineering is usually done in-house with a staff engineer, and that's.
Just a question in that regard. I assume in the budgeting process, as we were deciding how much things were going to cost, you had an idea of what this was
Yes,
going to be. Could you share that with us?
the estimate as we looked in for the engineering was about 164,000.
Okay. So
That's an important
That's an
piece of
important-
information. It's
yes.
below budget.
Yeah,
what they
and that's
anticipated.
on the Performa that is online if you want to look at it.
I think that information would have been really good in the
yes,
staff
that
report.
would have helped.
Yeah. That'd be helpful. Well, I appreciate that this is it is so specialized and that there is a limited quantity of people who perform this. For me, when I read it as if there was an appropriate competitor, appropriate secondary that was focused on wireless, I thought, well, that has nothing to do with anything. So I kind of err on the side of, I support it because you went through the appropriate ethics process, and with the bid being below budget and it being such a specialized industry in need, and with a shortage of people in that environment right now. So, yeah, those are my points you've answered.
Is now the time to ask if they've done this work before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of experience. The company that's got it.
I think
Bitstream was very well qualified as well.
it's important that we keep things going too, and not hold up.
Sure.
Did you ever reach out to Spanish Fork or to John to see if there was any other options? I think everybody's just concerned because there's an inherent conflict right here, and it's not having any other options is a little bit unsettling.
Right. I did talk to Brian over there about what they had done for some of their stuff in the beginning, and It was done through staff engineering.
Yeah, this sounds like they did it internally already, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'd comment too, it's similar sometimes what we'll do at Public Works when we have a project where we'll hire out and get some engineering services that can come in and help with that project as we move it along, so.
Don't get any ideas.
Happy to
Any other
answer
questions
any
for,
other question.
any other questions for Matt? Thanks, Matt.
I'll move to accept the consent agenda.
I was just going to make one change. There was a
I'll
meeting
not move
for
to
Planning
accept.
Commission. Meeting, they're not having a second meeting in January, so that's been fixed.
Okay. I'll move to accept the consent agenda with the edit noted.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Egbert and a second by Councilman Carlson.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Garrett, yes.
All right, we'll move forward with our first public hearing item, which is number 5, consideration of an ordinance adopting amendments to the city's transportation master plan. Mr. Conroy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So the transportation master plan includes a transportation map. Sorry. And the map really is intended to help identify roads in their hierarchical categories and help us determine when developers come to the table to know what their requirement is going to be to build. It also helps the public understand what the roadway plans are in the future. So what we're proposing is some modifications to the map, really to catch up with the development that's happened. And then the other major change is that we're now including that new country lane rural cross-section that we talked about when we adopted some changes in the subdivision ordinance. Those are the majority of the changes that are taking place in the map. We can go through any questions you've got. We identified kind of the changes in the staff report. I won't go through those one by one, but we're happy to answer any questions on those if you have any. The country lane, this is really what we're intending to protect. Oftentimes we get a subdivision application in an area that there isn't going to be more development other than 1 or 2 lots. And the question always is, well, do we require improvements in front of this small strip? So this is intended to address those areas and make sure they maintain that rural country feel. I've included in the staff report some discussion on the Maple Street extension. What I would recommend is let's talk about the transportation amendments in general, and then let's come back to that transportation, or the Maple Street, and we can talk about that in more detail. So if there's any specific questions on the map or the changes to any of the designations, Steve and I can help answer any of those questions.
I had a couple, unless anybody else wants to go first. First, the 1600 North Road, downgrading it to a country lane from, my understanding is we want to downgrade it from Maine all the way east, right?
So the country lane on 1600 North would just be where it turns onto 1900 East.
Oh, okay. I thought I read where it was, you were proposing that changing it to a country lane from Main Street east.
No,
It's from 1700 East.
17, okay.
That's the break point.
just
Okay.
around the bend and then
Next question was, why 1900 East and not 1800 East?
I think basically it was on, let's see, make sure we're looking at the right one. So you're looking at
Right there, yeah. Just-
here?
No, south, right. I assume that there's only one 1900 East, and it's the one right there. There's 2 roads right there, 1900 and 1800 right there.
Yeah, those are both rural cross-sections.
But in the proposal, you
I may not have called it out properly on the staff report. I have to look at that. But yes, in the map, it shows them both as that rural.
Okay, so there was one that was proposed 1900 East to be changed to Country Lane in the proposal, no?
Yeah, let me note that really quick.
In the staff report, it shows on bullet number 3,
Oh.
1900 East will downgrade to country
Yeah,
lane.
I think 1900 East for some reason was a different designation in the old plan, but they'll both of those will be the country lanes.
Got it. Yeah, the only other question I had was about the Maple Street, so we'll get to that.
Any other questions for Sean?
I don't have any in that regard.
All right,
Hit on the
this
Maple?
being a,
Oh, yeah.
this being a public hearing item, we'll open it for public comment. Seeing that there are none, we'll close the public comment portion and look for a motion.
So we're going to move to the Maple Street extension.
Yeah.
Let's have
Oh,
that
excuse me,
discussion then.
you're
Yeah,
right,
sorry.
that's right.
So the master plan has shown a Maple Street extension that was intended to connect with the future interchange at 1600 South that would run from Maple Street west, cross the tracks, and then work its way north to 1600 South in Springville. MAG studied this option in 2012 when they were looking at a variety of connections to that interchange. And they identified numerous constraints to this option. It was the highest cost of all the alternatives of connecting into Mapleton City that they were evaluating. Would require numerous right-of-way relocations, a redesign of Slant Road where Maple Street would extend off of Slant Road, the condemnation of at least an existing home, probably an existing home in a vacant lot, 2 grade-separated railroad crossings. That may become one if the railroads are consolidated as they're talking about it, but still a pretty significant cost. Impact to wetlands, and then an additional thing that's come up since the study was done was there's a 20-acre park that's being dedicated to the city that this would bisect. So just some things to consider on the complications that Maple Street extension creates. This is kind of the plan. This is the intersection at Slant Road and the home and the existing lot that most likely would be condemned. These are the wetlands. I'm going to talk about this parcel in just a second. These are the wetlands and some topographical challenges. And then as you cross through, this is where the city's park would be here, so this would bisect that. And then the railroad crossings, and then connecting up to Springville City. This is a view looking west from just off of Slant Road. This is the wetlands area. So you can see some definite challenges there. So when D.R. Horton purchased the Mapleton Grove project that's now almost all developed out, they also purchased with that this 7 acres that's included in that corridor where Slant Road or where Maple Street would extend through. They approached Stephen and I a couple of months ago about wanting to look at development options for that parcel. And they're aware that the traffic or the transportation plan shows a road through there, but it's really just a line on a map. It's schematic at this point. So with all of the challenges, that's why we're kind of bringing it to the council at this time. Some options to consider. One would just be to keep that on the transportation plan. That may necessitate the city spending some money now to do some design work so that the developer would know where the road would need to go, and even some potential cost that we may have to contribute some cost because it's not just a residential road, it would be a much larger road. So that would be an option, is just keep it on the plan. Another option would be to say that, hey, it may not be realistic to connect from Maple Street to the Sunrise Ranch development, but from there west, we could keep that segment on it that would allow us to have that option at some point in the future if we so chose. Or the third option would be just to remove the entire segment. So the parcel that D.R. Horton owns are these 2 parcels here, where the wetlands kind of runs right through the middle. They have some developable area on the north side of that parcel, but to be able to align that and to determine how the roads might work, we would really need to do some engineering to determine whether this was feasible and how that might work. So that's why we really wanted to bring this Maple Street connection to the council's attention, see where you're at.
maybe provide us some guidance, and we can go from there.
Just below that's the Salisbury piece, right?
Correct. And so they would, if this develops, there would be either the road would connect here, or there would be some type of stub for that parcel as well. This portion that you can see around here, that's in a conservation easement that was part of that subdivision. But this piece was not, so that is potentially, at least has some development potential.
I don't know if you have an idea on what the cost might be to engineer to keep it as an option.
Just to actually do the design work.
'Cause it sounds like that's what would be needed to keep it as an option for possible future.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands?
It'd be a pretty complicated, I mean, they'd be coordinating with Army Corps of Engineer on wetlands and looking at a variety of issues, challenges for it. But
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sean, I can't see where your pointer is on the screen I'm watching on YouTube.
Okay,
My question is, you said one of the options would be to mix the extension from Maple through Sunrise Ranch, but potentially keep the road on the plan from Sunrise Ranch west. Can you just tell me approximately where that road, would it be about that roundabout there at the D.R. Horton project?
yeah,
would
so
that
where
road-
where the park
begin?
is, where the park is in D.R. Horton, where our pickleball courts are, if you go just north
right
of
there.
that, if you go just north of that, that's where there's a stub going into the D.R. Horton property to the east, so it would be at
Okay.
that point where you would just extend it through the development of Sunrise Ranch. So we're talking right here.
Okay, thank you.
So if we were to do that, how would we connect to?
So what would happen is you would just, you would Sunrise Ranch Drive or Boulevard, what is it, Sunrise Ranch Drive? Comes from Highway 89 to there, Slant Road, and this is Doubleday in D.R. Horton. So your traffic would come through either of those two and then head west.
Go through narrow streets and lots of houses.
Yeah, these roads were designed as collectors, so they're, I think it's 56 feet wide, so it's not a narrow road, but it's not as big as you would see on many other collectors.
And the other route would have two railroad grade crossings as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you'll have this crossing and this crossing, unless those are consolidated, then there would just be one.
But the other way too.
Hey, Reed, could you talk into the microphone?
You're talking from 1600 South?
Yes.
Correct.
That'd still have them, so that it'd still be basically similar.
Yeah.
There'd be quite a few homes to take out, though, going that way, wouldn't there?
Yeah, the most likely scenario is that 1600 South with the interchange gets improved to Highway 51. And then at some point from 51 to Highway 89 gets approved. This would be like a third option, you know, we're talking 2050 or beyond. Any other thoughts on that, Steve? That's,
Sean, maybe comment, just how soon do you think that road's gonna hit that 20-acre piece that we own? I mean, that area's getting developed faster than we anticipated.
we'll
but-
probably have a pre-construction meeting in the next month.
So within the next couple years.
Yeah, the road will be in probably this spring.
That's on which parcel?
That is from here to here. And then the park will be dedicated to us later this year. So probably by the end of, probably summer sometime, this could be in.
So you're not concerned, Stephen or Jean, about if we abandon that point from Highway 89 to the development, if we abandon that it's not gonna cause drainage issues or traffic issues in the Sunrise development or the D.R. Horton development?
No, the Sunrise Ranch development was planned, and the traffic impact study didn't show the slant road connection anyway, because it was so far in the future. So everything was designed to handle the internal traffic.
Good.
So
tough one. I mean,
Yeah.
we've always thought this is a great idea to have, but we've always known that there's, it's such a significant cost. And then the other challenge is in order to get MAG funding, there has to be regional significance. And so there's even that potential that even if we went to MAG in 20 years, that this wouldn't qualify for funding.
Yeah. Well, to me, this seems the number of and the complexity of the hurdles is pretty high. And to me, I've kind of always not really liked the idea anyways to connect this out to the freeway. I know it makes a nice idea to be able to get to the freeway quicker, but it also, at the same time, lends itself to freeway traffic finding its way into Mapleton, which is, to me, a negative thing. So I think my gut feeling is that 1600 North or 1600 South in Springville is going to end up connecting to 1600 North in Mapleton anyways eventually, and that's going to be a good drainage for Mapleton to the freeway. So I'm not super concerned about losing this piece, Maple Street connecting to the freeway.
This section, Maple Street Extension, a lot of that is in the city of Mapleton. So we would have to bear a lot of the cost, is that it? But the other one is, most of it's out of the city limits, so it wouldn't be major expense to our town.
This
Is that
section will
right?
get built by the developer. A portion of this potentially could be built by the developer. All of this work, including the condemnation, any other work we'd have to, that would be certainly have to be borne by the city, as well as the extension out of the city, unless we applied for it at some point and MAG funded.
And if we just focused on 1600 North, what would the city's responsibility be there?
I think probably to make that clear, Reed, it's not one or the other. The 1600 North connection is already set. That's happening.
That is,
Yeah,
okay.
this is not an alternative to that.
I
This-
misunderstood
yeah,
that.
This is not an alternative to
good
that. This is an additional connection for us, for Mapleton
Good, okay.
to Highway 51 and then beyond up to 16th South in Springville.
I think there's something to say also for the potential for this road, although it's on the plan, but running a reasonably sized road right behind some houses that have otherwise not had it, and those residents have probably been there. How long have those houses been there?
We talking these ones?
Yeah.
Long, 5 years?
These actually have an easement on the back
Yeah.
that we tried to make it clear, but still, most of those people probably aren't aware of those notes on the plats.
And that's sort of an aside for me. I'm in agreement with what Theron said. I think what we're doing with 1600 South and the eventual connection, which I hope will happen up to 89, that's more logical as far as having another exit to connect to a freeway. This one just is so prohibitive and not very cost effective, and I think could not necessarily be good for those neighborhoods anyway. So I kind of lean towards removing it.
You sent an email today about what the name might be.
Yeah.
Is that because there's been some movement this week on the topic, or have there been some recent updates?
So there's funding for the project. At what stage are we at in the?
Yeah, we're
construction.
in the middle of design on the corridor from the freeway to 51, to Highway 51. They're designing that right now. So that's
That'll
got
be built
funding,
soon.
it's got legs, it's got traction. We're talking in the next couple of years, that's gonna get built. So, the naming thing was just, it's 3 cities, and it seems like we can't agree on, is it 16th North, is it 16th South, is it 7200 North, whatever it is in Spanish. I don't know if Salem has a dog in the fight, but we just don't know what to call it. So they're looking to try to give it a name rather than a number. So they won't name it after me, I tried.
So if we were to maintain this, say we want that corridor, we don't have any help at all from the Springville line, we have no idea, they would need to support it. They could redesign something else and we could never use it. Is that correct?
I mean, we'd get to 51, basically, because the land
Don't we
there
go
is-
through Springville property?
Yes and no. It's kind of no man's land in between the two
It's
tracks.
county
It's
now.
county and.
But it is county.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
But
it was already
yes,
designated.
the possibility is they do something totally different here, and all you get is to here, and then you're going up to where you would have been anyway at 16th South.
Yeah.
Sean, a question for you. Does the council need to answer, or are you more concerned with just the area off Slant Road? Could we leave the area by the 20-acre park, not have to discuss that at this point? And
Yeah, I mean.
Those are options, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of, because we own the park, right, I don't think we need to make that decision until we
Until we're
decide to
there.
put a building right, or a ball diamond right in the way. That
right.
one doesn't really matter. It's
So
the
it's
slant road
primarily
piece.
just the connection there off
Yeah.
that Slant Road.
Yeah, and that, to that point, even if we did build a park here and in 40 years, they decided they wanted, that's city-owned, so you'd make that connection anyway. So that's not so much at jeopardy other than just expectations. You know, if people see a map, they expect that, hey, awesome, there's gonna be a connection here, or terrible, there's gonna be a connection here, right? So.
To me, I think it would be wise to leave on our transportation plan, at least the connection across the one tracks to Highway 51. I think that would be wise, to leave that on the transportation plan.
I think that's a nice conservative balance.
Right.
Yeah.
But not worry about keeping it on from Main Street to the park or the connection to the freeway. I don't think that's a big concern to lose those.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents. And you may want to open this up to the public again, too, since we
Yeah.
closed it. But- Sorry. But then with that option, then we still pay for the study, even though that might not ever happen, right? I think if we're taking this section off, then we would not. We wouldn't have. We'd let the developer make a proposal on how they're proposing to develop it and work with them on that.
All right, in fairness for public comment, we'll reopen this for public comment. If anyone would like to speak to the item, come forward now.
Hi, Rick Mango, excuse me, at 1265 on Peterson Lane. So I completely agree with what you guys are saying. I just wanted to throw in my comment real quick, not to change anything, but what I see happening a lot of times here is that we continue to add, kind of what Theron was talking about, we add in these, we're creating more traffic coming through the middle of Mapleton, which ideally we don't, although we do need to be able to get everybody out. I agree that 1600 North, for example, 1600 South already gets us out that way. So once we create that, it might be nice for some residents, but in reality, it's going to drive others from the outskirts into the middle of town and then out that way. So we're just, creating some additional traffic in the middle of town that we don't necessarily want. And with the cost and the other issues and unknowns, I just wanted to throw in my opinion that I think that we could abandon that pretty easily and be a good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Seeing there no one else, we'll close the public comment. This was something we've looked at for the last 3 or 4 years, and I kind of got used to the idea of having that road come over the railroad tracks and come off the new 1600 North, which is not 1600 North in Springville, but and it seemed nice because you could enter town right there, and it'd be awfully convenient for people that, live in the mid to southern side of the city. But what I have a hard time is, we need about $10 million right now to fix the roads we got. And to spend a dime on this is awfully difficult for something that might happen in 40 years or 50 years. So if it's gonna cost us money, then I say we take our money and put it where it's better used. 1600 South, 1600 North, Maple Street, 400 East, 600 East, 700, I keep going. So I say, my opinion is that we keep the money in our pocket, put it to the roads we currently have now. If UDOT wants to come along later and it's gonna be a relief for them somehow off of 51 or south side of Springville, that the exit becomes encumbersome, the new one they build and trying to relieve traffic, whatever, great. Have them come bring us a bucket of money. Otherwise, move on. Anybody else?
I guess if we just drop the section from 89 to Doubleday, is it? Then there's no expense. It still is on the plan. And the next time we're going to have to address this would be when they develop, what, anything? So it's, okay.
Yeah, then as far as, if something was going on here in the county and we wanted to say, hey, we want to make sure that you accommodate this option, that having it on our plan would allow us to do that.
Okay, so there's really no development plan or anything there that we have to address. We can
Yeah.
just
This,
drop that and
this
keep
would go
that.
away. We'll deal with these parcels individually and.
In reading the engineering report, I think it was quite interesting, very well done. The point that this road shows no regional significance, and therefore funding, until that changes, funding is likely non-existent. Sean, what would have to change to make this a regionally significant road? I mean, that's a silly question, but that doesn't change. Even when our population doubles throughout the county, this doesn't all of a sudden become, in 10 years, a regionally significant road, does it? Is there a, or that?
Yeah, Leslie, I can answer that. The road itself, at least the connection from the end of Owl Park across the tracks and to 51, and then potentially up to 1600 South in Springville, that is regionally significant. To be regionally significant, you really just have to cross a community. Especially that also drives us towards a freeway interchange. I think if I'm having to present this to MAG, which I would have to do at some point if we were going to do this, I'd make a pretty good case that this is regionally significant. I wouldn't anticipate getting a lot of pushback from that. On the flip side of that,
but simply that leg of it would be considered regionally significant, and then
and I can and by
possibly
extension
get on a funding schedule.
Yeah, and by extension of that, if we did maintain the connection to Slant Road and then to Maple Street, that again is, you can call that one corridor. That's a logical place to terminate the road. It hits a UDOT facility in 147 and in 89, plus it gets you to Maple Canyon. So I can make a really good case that this is regionally significant.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, more important on that is not its significance, it's whether we would get support from the communities around us to do this. They basically that MAG's technical committee and then the mayors of that body would get final say on whether this was a project that they want to fund. And that to me is a much bigger stretch.
Okay, thank you.
So going back to the report, staff had made a recommendation for approving the amendments, but it wasn't very clear to me what staff recommends for this part of it.
We were pretty open-ended. That's why we want to have this conversation. So your motion would be to adopt the plan and then whatever change you want to see to the Maple Street extension.
So what is the feedback we've had from Springville and Spanish Fork about this?
Springville's pretty much said they don't know what's going on in here, so they haven't had any.
They're
any
concerned
real
with
support
cost,
for it.
wetlands, all that stuff that's taking place. They are obviously concerned with the traffic flow that we seem to obviously be using a lot of their fourth south. So I think that would be the topics that would come to the
The
table.
benefit of keeping at least this section is just so we can have those conversations with these communities when they start coming up with development plans for those areas. Say, hey, does it make sense to plan for this? If we don't have it there, then it's pretty hard to go to them and work on it.
Well, I'm inclined to certainly off the cuff to agree with the logic behind the engineering report, that it's not likely to ever be funded, let alone built. Let's put some of our monies into our own road projects, as Mayor Hakes has said. However, I am hesitant or cautious to remove a potential road extension that may have some significance, and that would mean a road extension on that west side of Sunrise Ranch.
Why can't we wait?
Why do we need to decide today?
Why do we need to
Is that-
decide tonight, just for D.R. Horton's sake?
Well, the section that, yeah, that's gonna come up, so they're gonna submit an application. So this section's really the section that's key, because all of this is not
The
changing.
west side over by our park does,
The only other thing that's nice right there is when you got a 20-acre park there, have direct access in and out of there instead of driving through neighborhoods, be nice.
Well, these will be neighborhoods too,
Yeah, it's
you know,
true.
but you're right, it is a
Little
more,
wider,
it's a more
nice
direct.
Collector road
access
going
to it.
toward the park.
Do we have, I mean, can we encourage the design of that space? I mean, we really aren't talking about much to the west anyway. We don't have to make that decision. So we're just talking about the space between Doubleday and 89. Can we encourage the design of that will allow a larger amount of traffic?
Yeah, not just encourage, we can enforce
Just
it.
tell-
It's
tell
on the
them-
master plan. I mean, as things stand today, if we weren't having this discussion, or if you decided we're gonna keep this on the plan, we go back to D.L. Horton and say, you need to collect a level road through your property, and they come back with a proposal, or they don't. And that's it.
Perhaps it's not as extreme as I was thinking the decision needs to be.
I say we do that.
Some of the, we're fine with doing that. Just some of the challenges, as you can see where this alignment is, it's right through the middle of the wetlands. And part of the challenge is they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we lay out a couple of lots here? And then we're gonna be telling them, you're gonna get 3 or 4 lots, but you're gonna build all the way to the end of your property through wetlands. And so those are the things we'd have to negotiate with them, figure out whether the city has to participate at some level.
I think we ask them to, if it is not if there's more flexibility than I was thinking preliminarily, then I think we go back and ask them to come up with their proposal that would support the long-term potential for that. I don't want to fund a study right now for that. I don't think that's necessary.
I think I'm in agreement with that.
Is there a right-of-way width for that? Or just a line on the map?
There is.
I think it's 66 feet is what's to the east or to the west of it that we did with.
And is that line surveyed in?
Not at all. There's no good alignment through there. It's literally a line on a map.
So our little scallops are not the actual.
No, that's the, right. No,
cute.
just a line on a map.
I'm inclined to not make a decision that would permanently alter this on the transportation map, knowing that we don't even know what the proposal for the potential builders could be after all that discussion.
So to restate, you're proposing leave it all in the transportation plan, but not fund any engineering for now?
Correct.
Okay.
See what happens.
Yeah, I mean, they may make a formal application and then you,
Then we'll
Vote
discuss
on it?
it at that time.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I would not want to jump on something prematurely.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Some developers are nice and offer to pay for the whole thing, Sean.
I know.
Yeah, they're gonna consolidate the railroad and build things.
That's right, build the bridge and everything.
That's awesome.
So the motion most likely then would be just to approve the map as proposed.
Before somebody makes a motion, I do want to point out in the staff notes where those concerns I had earlier, not concerning this transportation plan, but, or not concerning this portion of it, was it's under the major local section 36-foot row right away. There's, at the last bullet point, in 1600 north from Main Street east was downgraded to a country lane. Just want to make sure that's clarified to that should mean 16 or 1700 eastward, right?
Yeah, I saw that too. So when that clarification happened, that, I didn't understand why it was that huge amount from Main
Yeah.
Street.
Because that's a major walkway for kids to get to Hobble Creek Elementary. So I just want to make sure it doesn't get put in as 1600 north from Main Street eastward.
Yep. The map is accurate.
Right.
So just adopt
If
the
you're
map.
adopting the map, you'll
Got
get
it.
everything.
And that, the map is also accurate to the other, the parallel roads
Yep.
too?
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
So we're back to just the basics. So I'll make a motion to adopt the amendments to the city's transportation master plan map.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Councilmember Egbert and a second by Councilman Beck.
Egbert, yes?
Beck, yes.
Garrett, yes.
I'm sorry, can you please clarify the motion? I didn't hear it clearly.
Leslie, the motion is to adopt the amendments to the map. No decision, yeah, no, yeah, as is.
Which would remove the entire extension?
No, it leaves the entire extension until, at what point we have to make a decision about it. It leaves it there.
Oh, I see.
For the future.
Got it. Thank you.
You're up, Leslie.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Carlson, yes.
All right, great. We'll move on to item number 6, which is consideration of an ordinance adopting amendments to Mapleton City Code Section 1884-130 regarding fencing standards. Mr. Conroy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Camille, this isn't advancing now, which is fine. The city's fencing ordinance adopts standards for height and location. It currently allows for a fence to be up abut a sidewalk or a trail. So one of the concerns we've had as we've seen more and more development is when fences get built, especially the walls, the solid walls that get built directly at the back of the curb. It could be a safety hazard for a kid on a bike, doesn't quite provide the aesthetic appearance that we would hope for. So our recommendation is just make a minor amendment that would require a 1-foot separation between the back of sidewalk and the fence. So this is what we're proposing to no longer allow, and then have more, a little buffer that could potentially have landscaping or some other treatment that would give a little more distance between the trail or sidewalk and the wall. And that's it.
All right, great. This being a public hearing item, we'll open for public comment. Seeing there are none, we'll close the public comment. And any questions or want to make a motion?
So the land, this little gap of 1-foot land would still be owned by the owner of the parcel, right?
Correct.
So it would be on every homeowner to maintain that little piece of.
Yeah.
That's my only concern, is that it turns into weeds and becomes a fire hazard. But I really like the idea of adding that gap.
Yeah, we have the same concerns. That the challenge is even when they're abutting, oftentimes you get the same amount of weeds coming through, and then those weeds are encroaching onto the sidewalk. That's just a challenge we'll have to continue to enforce through our code enforcement. But I'm just curious how this came about. I mean, were there any residents that complained, or just anything done that created this? No, the planning commission's brought it up a few times. A few members of the commission, and then we've staff's been just seeing more and more fences coming up and having that concern, and just thought that this would be a better approach.
It's been interesting too, when this topic started coming up, just driving around looking at new developments in other cities, it's becoming more common to do that.
Some of them go more than a foot, though. I've seen,
Yeah,
I've seen
it,
a lot
yeah.
of them up to 3 feet.
They're
right?
pretty extreme. Some require a full setback, 10 feet plus. There's a huge range.
Yeah.
What
I've
we
seen
were
it.
trying to do is get a little bit of a buffer without impacting too much of the property owner's ability to use that property. Because when you're on a corner, that's often your backyard.
I'll make a motion if there's no more comments.
I was just gonna say, do you mind? So I just, I generally don't love like adding more mandates and rules, but I think with residents, we clearly want more of a rural feel, and I think this helps with that. And so I'll be supportive.
And for me, it's a very standard that I've seen in other cities. I was surprised when I moved here and we didn't have something similar. So for the reasons stated, I also would support it.
Just one question about the, I guess, the sidewalk setback and the wording. Do you think we should add the word "and maintenance"? That they don't just landscape and leave it, that actually maintain it?
Yep, we could add that.
I think that would be important.
I'll make the motion to approve as stated unless what Reed indicated needs to be in there, then I'll let him do that.
That's all you.
Okay.
So with Reed's amendment.
With Reed's,
That was
with Reed's.
A motion with
Right, I'll
Reed's.
second it.
Here we have a motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Carlson.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Great, we'll move on to item number 7, an action item, consideration of a resolution adopting the third amended and restate interlocal agreement for construction, use of maintenance of joint wastewater treatment facility and joint truck lines. Mr. Euler.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that Spanish Fork's attorney has looked at, our attorney has looked at, and staff has reviewed. Everyone has been on board with this. There aren't any issues from that standpoint. The only change we're making to this interlocal agreement is clarifying the purchase price, not 15.9 million, but 20% of the construction cost or the capital cost. And then recognizing that that Mapleton has already made a deposit in the amount of $18 million, which is the loan amount or Mapleton's share of the bond. So with that, are there any questions?
Just note for the record, it's the third amendment. The first interlocal came into effect back in 2004. That's when we entered into that agreement with Spanish Fork. And since that time, as you recall, a few of you were here when we came in with that second amendment, which was in December of 2020. And as Bryce mentioned, this third amendment is just to do a couple little cleanups to that.
So just to clarify, the 18 million deposit is our portion of the bond. We didn't come up with 18 million and give them a down deposit, right?
Correct.
No, we told him you were going to pay him. When Theron pays us, we'll pay you.
Have you not done that yet? Yes.
That deposit.
It's a little late. Yeah, it is just our share of the bond, and we wanted that wording in there to, in 40 years from now, when somebody looks at this again, to remember that this is how that was processed.
It's,
and then,
to clarify, it's our portion of the bond at dollar amount wise. We are not bonding, and the way we did that is through a promissory note.
Right. I understand that part. It's just worded in there that we've made a deposit of 18 million.
Yeah.
But that's not.
There's
not
a
hard cash.
possibility of the construction costs coming in higher, which would then increase our purchase price and our ownership of, or our share, not our share, but our dollar amount that we own. This just clarifies that 20% of whatever that capital cost is our purchase price. But we have already made $18 million, we call it a deposit, or our share of the note that we have.
That's the next thing I wanted to clarify, was that by doing this, it increases our potential of paying more. Well, obviously, the chances are pretty high that we're going to pay more in the end than the 15,000 or 15 million that we originally proposed in the second amendment, right? So the 20% ownership is not going to change.
Everything's going on.
Yeah, just with the way construction costs are
Right.
right now. Even though when we put this together 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was 86 million or whatever it was
Right.
was the cost of the plant. It's gonna be more than that. We don't know how much more, but it will be more.
That's what I assume.
And
The reason I wanted to bring it up was so that the public would know that what we're doing here is, one, the 20% is not changing. Two, we haven't come up with $18 million. Three, the 15 million that we agreed on last year is now being open-ended to whatever the construction cost is at our 20%.
Yeah, last year, to clarify, we did agree that we would cover 20% of the cost of the construction costs. This just puts it in writing so that it's a little more clear. When we were going through those negotiations, that was correct, Stephen. That was
Yeah, and I mean, we can probably clarify that too, right? The 20% is what we decided we wanted to, our stake in the plant.
Right.
And we're writing that into this agreement right now. But when it comes time to finish the plant, we can drill down on those numbers more and adjust that down if we felt like we wanted to, and we felt like our future growth planning allowed us to do that. So it's just kind of, it's a bit of a moving target, but our best guess right now is that we need 20% of the capacity of that plant. Now, that's conservatively high. We recognize that.
Right.
But it also comes with the capital of the plant. It's not, you know, the old agreement wasn't that. The old agreement was a percentage of just ability to use a percentage and didn't help us on capital, but this does.
so that to that point, 15.9 million, when it all is said and done, might be 15% or 18%. We want 20% of the ownership, so that's what this is.
But we can have that discussion at some point. Once we get final numbers, and, you know, who knows where that will come in, we don't know exactly, but once we find out what that final 20% cost is, then if we're not comfortable with that dollar amount, then our other negotiating point would be percentage ownership in the plant. So
And what's awesome is that Spanish Fork is pretty amenable to working with us on that, which is great.
yeah, it's not a build-out plant for them.
Right.
There's more. They need more capacity than this, and in the conversations that we've had and all throughout the planning, you know, whatever we don't use, whatever we don't want, Spanish Fork has need for it and can use it. So
Yeah.
it's that potential's there. Right now, I don't want to even really entertain that. 20% is the number that all of our planning says that we want, and gives us a nice level of comfort. So
We're gonna buy 20%, we're gonna rent back to them the 8-9% we're not using now, make them pay us.
there actually is there's kind of a provision for that.
Yeah.
If we have excess capacity and they need to use it, then
Well,
there's a provision for that in there.
I think that's great, but also the other thing I want to clarify, that this doesn't change the fact that the 20% is our ownership in the asset now as well, but where before it wasn't.
That's right.
That's still in the
That's
signed
right.
contract. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that those were spoken so that the public listening to this knows all those facts.
Just a question in regards to construction's ongoing right now. We have costs, we kind of know where we're heading. How do things look? Should I even ask that question?
As of
Probably not.
2021, let's give them that
Give
figure.
them the 2019 number, that might be.
As of 2019, it was 0, right?
So the way this process works, because it's a CMGC project, so you've got a construction manager, general contractor. What happens is as at certain benchmarks, mileposts along the road, the general contractor gives us a guaranteed maximum price, right? So the very first time they do this, they have nothing to go on other than this is an 8 million gallon plant using this technology. And then they say, great, that's $200 million. And we say, okay, fine, thank you, right? And then we hire them based on their qualifications and what they've done before. Then we get together with them and we get to a 30% design. Things seem a little more nailed down, and then they take that 200 million and they say, okay, we can guarantee this is not going to be more than 150 million. And then you get to 60% and it gets smaller, and then 90%, and then ultimately at the 100% mark, you have an absolute nailed on bid that doesn't change unless you change the design. So we're at 30%. In fact, I don't even think we're quite at 30% yet.
I thought we were higher than 30%.
No.
I understand now.
No,
I thought we're way over 30%.
No, we're at about 30. So what we've done so far is we've selected technology, we've selected process, but we haven't done infrastructure design yet.
I thought we were at 60 or more.
No, we're about at 30.
So Spanish Fork each year sends us a figure of completion, a percentage, not percentage completion, but dollar completion. And then we add that to our assets. And last year was the first year we received that figure, and it was, no, we've received it twice. And I believe first year was $700,000, and I think $600,000 are our two amounts that we're at. So somewhere between 1 million and 1.3 million is the dollar amount that we're recording as an asset on the plant, and that's all in construction costs. So it's a construction in progress on our books as an asset.
And when is their completion date? I understand that's kind of a hard one too, but they're certainly planning on something.
Yeah, and I don't want to get it wrong, but I want to say it's January of 2024 or 2025, one of the two.
Oh, still,
It's so far out there that it's,
still 3, I thought it was like a
no,
year and a half, 2 years.
long time.
Any other questions for Bryce?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce.
I'll make a motion.
Go for
Are you
it.
there?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution, or to approve the adoption of the I'm really screwing this up. I make a motion to adopt this resolution, which is the third amendment. Never mind, I'm screwing this up. Somebody else, come on in, save me, please. Lifeline.
You can just say adopt the resolution.
I'll get you, Leslie. I'll move to adopt the third amended and restated interlocal agreement for construction, use, and maintenance of joint wastewater treatment facility and joint trunk lines.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Egbert and a second by Councilman Garrett. Leslie?
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Great, we'll move on to our administrative reports. Chief, you want to start us off?
First off, Happy New Year and welcome, Councilman Beck. Excited to work with you. So this is more just a couple information for you, just to kind of put it in your mind. But I want to talk about this interfacility transports out of Spanish Fork Hospital. Just a minute. So, as you know, our ambulance staffs 2 paramedics, one that's available to go down and do transports, another one that keeps the town covered. That's important to note because that one paramedic stays here in town. That's important to keep in our mind that he never leaves. I just want to put in your mind that those transports were average. When this started back in March, Corey and I were told it could be 1 a day, it could be 1 a week, and it could be 5 a day. There was just really no number given to us that we knew. And for the first few months, that's kind of what the case was, is about 1 a day. And then December hit, and for whatever reason, jumped up, and our ambulance did 58 of them in December. So I just put this in your mind that Chief Glasgow's done a phenomenal job in managing that and keeping the people motivated to do that, but it is a high number. So we want to monitor that just a little bit closer moving forward, that they are busy and they are moving down there with those interfacility transports. Those guys are keeping busy with that. It's a little bit of a problem for us because we're required to, the reason we get to do them is they're paramedic level, so we have to have those paramedics. Councilman Garrett will know this better than anybody. It wouldn't be as big of issue if we were going straight from Spanish Fork to Provo every time, but that's not the case. Last night they went to Park City, and then this morning they went to Murray? Ogden. So those are several hour transports, so we will monitor that a little bit closer, but those have definitely jumped up, and credit to Chief and his staff for stepping up and monitoring that. So just want that in your mind. Second thing, just another one with the year end.
Chief, you probably just note on that too, as far as budget costs, we do receive.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe hit on that a little bit.
Yeah, so their billing far covers what the expenses are for that, so that's being covered for that, so
Money's not an issue, it's
Yeah.
manpower.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
manpower and city coverage is what's the issue.
Well, and I think Councilman Garrett would agree that paramedics are not easy to find nowadays either. And we have to have them. So anyway, that's a topic that we're gonna be really focused in on. So thanks for bringing that up. Second thing, with the new year, Urban Deer ended, so the Urban Deer program is over. I believe it was Councilman Jones that had a citizen reach out to her in the last week or so about a deer problem. So if you have them contact you about deer issues, we're done. We can't do anything till August, so that program is over until August. So just wanted to put that in your, so.
I got some texts this week thanking us for doing it. They saw a big improvement, so.
And just to go on that, we were complaint-based this year. We put our guy in areas where we were receiving complaints. He wasn't just going through town anywhere. It was complaint-based, so. And there's about three.
Did the new system work out well compared to years past?
Yeah, I think so. I think we want to sit down and review everything, but we didn't have any major incidents that I know of. So
Good.
I would say yes. There's 300 head of elk though, right, coming down into town every
Yeah.
night. So they're stirring some things up right now. So, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chief. All right, Bryce. Nothing, great. Sean?
Two quick ones. I just provided the community development permit activity for 2021 at your seats. You can see we've continued to feel the growth pains. Surprisingly, our new homes were down a little bit from 2020, but still significantly higher than we've typically experienced. If you have any questions on that, let me know. The other one, I sent out the email on the naming of the interchange. Sounds like Dry Creek Parkway was preferred from most of the council members. If you've got other ideas, feel free to shoot them over to us. We're going to continue to try to have it named after Stephen.
That question did spur another question. My understanding was that airport was co-owned by Springville and Spanish Fork, is it not? Is it not anymore?
The Lord's Highway.
Yeah, that's good. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Sean. All right, Mr. Lord.
We're continuing to work on the fleet management program. We are very close. In fact, we're going to be close enough that when we get to our retreat in February, we'll have a presentation for you on fleet maintenance and replacement, and look for some support and feedback on that. As always, it's that time of year when if you see a snowplow driver, give them a hug and say thank you. They worked really hard over the holiday. It's exhausting. Plowing snow is exhausting. So if you see any of my guys out and about, then they'd appreciate a thank you.
How many people do we have pushing?
The plow, we have 7. Yeah. Seven that actually plow, yeah. There would be 8, but they won't let me do it, so.
Thank
It's
goodness.
7.
I like my mailbox and my landscape along the curb and stuff.
I
Let's keep it that way.
volunteered just to do your cul-de-sac.
I could see him coming
I
in there,
denied.
coming in there on the left side of the road, plowing the snow into the middle.
Just push it into the middle,
Drives
because the
the wrong
plows
side
are
of the
pointed
road.
that way. It doesn't work. So, yeah.
Just one quick thing on that. When you live in other communities, you appreciate how well Mapleton does. I mean, Camille can attest with me that our roads don't ever look.
Yeah, I was driving through Springville and there was enough for one car to go down the road.
Have we done anything education-wise about encouraging our citizens to keep their snow on their property instead of send it out into the roads? Done anything recently on that?
Probably not recently, but I remember we've done it before, two or three winters
I
ago.
think a lot of people just don't know you're supposed to retain your
When we got heavy about parking on the street during the snowstorms, we put that out there in the newsletter, but nothing
Maybe we
since.
could at least do a Facebook post to remind people to send the snow back into their own space.
I would add to that just a note in appreciation for the drivers and the
Yeah.
great job that they do, because sometimes we as citizens get a little complacent and complain about minor things, and these drivers are doing a phenomenal job, but citizens tend to get pigeonholed and blinders on, and they're like, well, they didn't plow it 4 inches closer to my driveway, and
Yeah.
I think it would be great to highlight the drivers and give them a little pat on the back.
We got some good video that Madison has. I think that we could put that together on
Awesome.
Facebook. It's pretty fun. So,
Awesome.
okay, that's all I got.
Great, thanks, Stephen. All right, Reed.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, Jessica.
I'm excited to have the public safety assignment. I've met with the chiefs this morning to talk about sort of the state of public safety here and our priorities and opportunities. Utah League of Cities and Towns had a board meeting today. Same topics are coming up for this upcoming session with accessory dwelling units, retail incentives. I am on the subcommittee for the public safety retirement also, and so that committee will be meeting, but we really aren't meeting again until the 19th at the officials' day at the legislature, and I've been speaking with Joanne Brown. I'm really excited that we will have some U City Council members, so thank you to everybody who's kind of been engaged in that conversation, as well as our leaders actually haven't been. So I think we'll have one or two of them.
3, yeah.
3? That's fantastic. So
There's three of
I'm
our
really
leaders
excited
going.
about that. That's it.
Excellent. Thanks, Jessica. All right, Casey, you should
Yeah.
have a long list.
Yeah, really long list. No, I'm grateful for the assignment to work with the Parks and Rec Department. I did meet with Logan earlier this week and Corey as well, and just really excited for that assignment. So, yeah, appreciative of that and ready to get to work for there.
Excellent. We didn't send you the other 3 pages, your assignments. We're letting you get up to speed on that, and we'll send you the rest. That's right.
I was wondering where the hazing was going to happen.
That's right, that's right.
There it is.
So you get one assignment per quarter added to your plate.
Yeah, snow plowing.
Here's your 8th guy right here.
And I think Mr. Lord needs a new driver, I heard.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Casey. We're happy to have you. All right. There. Oh, Leslie.
I have one update, yeah.
Yes.
As my assignment with the Chamber of Commerce, in an attempt to add value to members, we've added several different opportunities to for some skills and dialogue and different topics that will be offered on the second Tuesday of every month. This one on February 8th, all of our council members are invited. It's February 8th from 7:45 to 9 a.m. The purpose would be to have our business community and our government leaders interface. We can talk to them about what we need from them. They can tell us what they need from us. It'll be a really great opportunity to have that dialogue. There will be a light breakfast offered, but everybody on the council is invited. Please let me know if you will be there or if you won't so that I can pass that along to the committee. But I think it's a step in the right direction for our Chamber of Commerce organization.
Leslie, will you note where that's going to be held at?
Oh, where is it? Yeah, it's a good question. It's over at the library in a room. It's not the normal meeting room off to the left of the door, but come to the library, you'll see the signs.
Great. Thanks, Leslie. All right, Theron.
Sorry, I just wanted to finish writing those notes. I don't have anything other than I wanted to welcome back Councilman Reed and welcome Councilmember Beck. Welcome aboard. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Theron. Camille? No? Corey, you're up.
Retreat, we're looking at the date of February 16th and 17th. That's a Wednesday and Thursday. That is a city council night, so we're considering trying to work around that a little bit too. We'll see how our items come in here in the next couple of weeks. If you can look at your schedules on that, I'll send an email out tomorrow. What we were considering doing is on the 16th of that Wednesday, starting maybe somewhere approximately around 2 o'clock, and then 5:30ish end and have a quick little dinner there and get you home by 6 o'clock. So we'll do it somewhere local here in Utah County area. And then the next day we would start like at 8:30 and go till about 2. When I send an email out, I'll give you some of the topics that we're proposing to discuss, and then we'd like to get your input. So please respond to say, hey, here's some things we'd like to talk about. So any questions on that one? Does that date kind of work? Looking at your calendars quickly. And the next thing, we are following closely that OSHA vaccine mandate Supreme Court hearing that's going to be taking place here in a couple of days. We're watching that. I'm working with the other city managers, and we'll see what comes of it. And then I'll go with our employees and let them know what we need to do from that point. So that's all I have for the council tonight.
Great. Thanks, Corey.
Madison, do you have?
Madison. Thanks. All right, with that, we'll look for a motion to close.
I moved we close.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Garrett, yes.
Aye.
All right.
Yes.